we move on to the Denver Broncos. Next up here, a team that our Dennis Garcia is very high on, and he got futures on the Broncos at a very nice price. Broncos at New York Giants, MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, 83 Fahrenheit, sunny, 10 miles per hour. Broncos 5-11 in 2020, but Fangio, I still question, and I think he could make some grievous mistakes when push comes to shove. But we know what the Bears' defenses look like without him, and there are positives to Fangio. Shermer in year 2, Donatell in year 3 with the defense, but it's Fangio's defense. Let's not get it twisted. We have Denver opening up as 1-point favorites. Now they're 3-point favorites. The total opens up at 42.5, and it is down to 41.5. Then we move over to the 12,622 tickets in. 61% of the tickets on the spread are on the Broncos, 51% of the cash. And the total has 44% of the tickets on the over, but 76% of the cash. And I know that Teddy Covers plays a very conservative style of football, but this total is getting low. And I can understand why it is perceived that sharp money is on the over. They bring in Bridgewater. They bring in Javonte Williams, running back out of North Carolina, 35th overall. Kyle Fuller, and we saw what North Carolina looked like without some of those stud playmakers. Kyle Fuller, cornerback from the Bears. Surtain, 9th overall out of Alabama. And then Ronald Darby out of Washington. They lose Philip Lindsay, A.J. Bouye, and Gerald Casey, but the Casey drop was saving like $12 million on the salary cap, so that made a ton of sense. Bridgewater won the starting job over Drew Lock, and I don't think he has it at the end of the season. I mean, that's up for debate. Bridgewater now, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, Tim Patrick. I mean, these guys are monsters. Patrick's the only guy who was drafted outside of the top 40, and Patrick is the oldest one of them at 27. Courtland Sutton played one game last year. We know what it's like to have a soft-handed, big-body receiver in the interior. Jeudy was the only real breakout receiver last year, 856 yards, but they're all going to boost their numbers this year. 10 different quarterbacks have started since 2016. Melvin Gordon is going to get the bulk of carries. I don't know if I trust him. Javonte Williams coming in is going to help. Garrett Bowles, 4-year, $68 million contract at left tackle. Now, Jawan James suffered a torn Achilles, and look, that hurts the offensive line. But, it was early in camp, and they've had time to figure out how to fix that. Dalton Risner, Graham Glasgow, Lloyd Cushenberry need to stay healthy. Von Miller, 32. I don't know what your expectations of him. George Patton got Justin Simmons and Shelby Harris in long-term deals. Everybody wants to see what Chubb and Von Miller look like together. A lot's expected of Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson. Jesus. Thankfully, that wasn't a gunshot by my window. That's just thunder. Bebsie, take it away here. What are your expectations of the Broncos?
Honestly, I have reasonably high expectations for the Broncos. I think they're going to have an excellent defense, a lot of that having to do with Vic Fangio. And I don't what has Teddy Bridgewater done wrong in his career? He's never been elite, but he's done so many admirable things with bad teams. He's won games when people didn't expect. Yes, he's been hurt a lot. But I think with a group like Courtland Sutton, like Jerry Jeudy, like Handler, like they have a deep threat. I think he can be fine, which is what Teddy Bridgewater has done his whole career. He's been a fine, serviceable quarterback. He's never been elite. He's got hurt a bunch. He's bounced around. He hasn't had the opportunities, or rather he hasn't been able to take advantage of the opportunities because a lot of the time it's because of injuries and circumstance. But I like Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think this is a team that was missing a serviceable quarterback. Obviously, a bunch of injuries. Their defense was destroyed by them last year. I don't expect a 32-year-old Von Miller to lead the league in sacks, but I do think him to be a massive bump, especially with playing next to a healthy Chubb. So this Bradley Chubb got arrested, but Fangio said he should be playing. Yeah, but at the bottom line, I would have loved to have gotten them at 1. I still think -3 is appealable here.
Yeah. Understandably so. I just feel like I'm late to the party, and Dennis Garcia has been throwing this party for the last 3 months.
I'm lockstep with Dennis Garcia here. He's bang on with the way he's broken this team down. This team was missing a serviceable quarterback and some injured players who were back, and now Teddy's a serviceable quarterback. He's not a star. He never will be, but he's fine at what he does.
Is over 8.5 wins a slam dunk with this football team?
They play in probably the second most difficult division in football this year. Maybe third if you want to talk AFC North.
Huh. So you're not back in the over 8, because both the Chargers and the Broncos are at 8.5, and I've been staring at it for fucking weeks.
Yeah, I wish I was Dennis and I was in on the -1 here. -3 is still pretty appealing, though. This New York Giants team still has Daniel Jones, who can't protect the ball and makes some abysmal throws.
Well, let's talk about Joey Judge, Jason Garrett, whom I don't want within 100 yards of my children, and Patrick Graham, all in year 2 here. They bring in Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, they draft 20th overall out of Florida, Devontae Booker from the Raiders, Azeez Olari from Georgia in round 2, 50th overall. An edge rusher who could be dangerous. Adoree Jackson comes in from the Titans at cornerback. They lose Tomlinson to the Vikings, stops the run. Golden Tate, who knows what he's doing. Kevin Zeitler to the Ravens. This is a huge year for Daniel Jones, and I don't know if he can be the guy. I'm not.
You know what? I've talked myself into betting Denver here, especially if I can get a 2.5, which Leonard Welch is posting here, or has he already made that bet? But if I can get a 2.5, I'm on Denver.
Yeah, you can get it, but it costs -126. You can get it. It's not too expensive.
It's not terrible. You know what? I will take that. And another reason why I'm backing this up is because Joe Judge has found himself out of favor already this season. There was that pile-on in camp where Daniel Jones was at the bottom of it, and he freaked out and made them run laps forever, and a bunch of vets quit after that. And listen, you can pull that shit in high school, you maybe pull it off in college, but when you try that stuff with grown men, they don't respect you. And I feel like Joe Judge could have lost the locker room, which was already a flimsy situation to begin with. You've got a sputtering team. They've over the last 5 years have been one of the worst teams in the NFL, quietly, because they've never been embarrassingly bad, but they've just been top 5 pick bad. And they're not hitting on a lot of those picks. And I did like what they did with the draft this year. This is more about me, how much I like Denver and how much I don't think New York has cleaned up their problems. And yeah, as Al Cervix said, let's not forget who was calling plays for the New York Giants, which, Jimmy, you mentioned. I don't know why you don't let this guy around your kids. I don't know any of that backstory, but yeah, let's face it. He's been terrible wherever he's gone.
I'll save you that backstory, Bebsie, for tonight, just because we're 2 hours and 39 minutes in. But look,
Jason Garrett, a pervert?
I've got that story locked and loaded for you.
Okay.
They signed John Ross. Their offensive line was beyond comprehension bad last year. So Nate Solder comes back from the opt-out COVID list. He's going to help the offensive line. Andrew Thomas was a bust. I mean, how long are we going to sit here and say, give him another year. He is getting better, but a 4th overall pick they were reaching. Zeitler, free agency, they lose to the Ravens. They signed Zach Fulton to replace him from the Texans. I don't know if he'll be able to do it. Leonard Williams had 11.5 sacks last year. He was impressive. They draft Ojulari in the 2nd round to team up with Williams so they can have a pass rush. Dexter Lawrence, the 2nd, is supposed to show more this year. We'll wait till we see it. There are concerns, though. The secondary is built around Bradbury. Bradbury's a monster. I feel like I'm late to the party, and I'm not going to bet it at 3. So with Bebsie this year, we'll be giving him the best line available, which isn't that big of an advantage to what I am dealing with. But I would have to move at 3, and I think I'm going to let this go. But, Bebsie, should I move on the Broncos over 8.5 wins?
They're going to be right around there. Again, very difficult schedule.
All right, so not sure what to do there. And it didn't make that final cut of 5. Okay.